And the thing is about financial planning and financial advice is sometimes we don't know when we're going to need things like that. We don't know necessarily when we're going to need to buy a car. Or sometimes we just want to get a new car. Sometimes we got to pay for our kids to go to college or for a wedding. Okay, and there's no way to say, look, can you, to my child, can you not get married until Bitcoin hits a certain amount? Hi, welcome to the InterAxis channel and InterAxis.io. Today we're going to talk about something that I'm just titling, should I sell my crypto? And a lot of this comes from the idea that at least recently we had a huge run up in crypto prices, and then we had a huge fall in crypto prices. We have a lot more retail investors in, and we're not here to give financial advice. We're not telling you whether or not you should, but what we want to do is talk about these things that we're seeing going around on social media, on Twitter, and articles about who's holding or who's hodling and who's selling, and what that means, and diamond hands and all these things. And we want to talk about the planning that we feel should actually go on with your crypto or your DeFi investments. So first, we want to remember, if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe. Please follow us on Twitter at InterAxis8. Now, we want to talk a little bit about should I sell and when should I sell and such, because what has happened is we have so many more kind of retail investors in crypto, people that have gone onto different exchanges, different on-off ramps like a Coinbase or a Gemini or a Kraken or use Cash App or Venmo or PayPal or whatever, and they've started to buy crypto as an investment because they want it to go up. And then when it starts to go down, right? So crypto's on the way up, people started getting in here and here and here, and it just kept going up, and people got in here, and then it started to fall. And when it fell, it started to fall precipitously. It started to fall really, really quickly. And what we saw was a lot of newer investors getting out. And what happened was a lot of the Bitcoin, a lot of the crypto went to those wallets that have been there a while, the people who understand the investment thesis, and their investment thesis has not necessarily changed because of the big run up and the big fall. But now the question is, what we see a lot now on Twitter and LinkedIn and different articles is saying you need to hold on. I'm going to hold on. I have, what they say is diamond hands. I'm going to hold on to my crypto. I'm not going to sell even though the price is down. And the problem with that is, from a financial advice perspective, from a planner's perspective, looking at this as part of some sort of plan, is you invest your money and you hope it goes up in value. You store your money somewhere with the idea that eventually you're going to have to spend it. So any other asset you have, if that asset is something like ETFs you're invested in, or some sort of portfolio. I always go back to the Apple stock. Okay, if I bought Apple stock years ago, or Amazon stock or something, it may be great. It may be really going up in value. But the whole reason I'm investing my retirement money or savings for my kids' college is at some point I'm going to have to sell that investment to pay for life, to pay for goods, to pay for services, to pay for my life when maybe I'm no longer working, or maybe it's some sort of goal I had to down payment on a house, pay for a car, pay for a kid's wedding, whatever it might be. At some point the idea was I invested in these things because I want them to beat inflation, because I want the value to go up. That's the whole store of value argument with Bitcoin. That's why I might want to be in some sort of DeFi protocols or DeFi tokens that are paying me regularly, paying me regular income, because I need to use that money to pay for my life. But there are so many in the crypto world that are telling everyone, don't sell, don't sell, don't sell. So what we have to do, maybe from a crypto investor's perspective, from a crypto influence perspective, definitely from a financial advisor's perspective that is learning about this, is figure out how do we incorporate the idea that if this is going to be a part of your financial life, if there is going to be mass adoption, if we are actually going to debank people, if people are going to go bankless, if this is going to be their bank, if their crypto wallets are going to be their banks, then it has to be incorporated in there that at some point I'm going to sell something, because selling something is what gives me the ability to use what I've gained to pay for my life, which is the whole reason I've put my money in here. Because right now what I do in the traditional system is I put some money in the bank, right? And the bank here in this case keeps my money very safe and pays me some ridiculously low level of interest so that they can hold my money, but they're keeping it safe. And then I have my investments, right, this is where Amazon and Apple fit in, and some other sort of retirement plans and whatever. And the idea is, look, I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this using my debit card, right? I'm going to, write checks. No, I don't think anyone writes checks anymore, but I'm going to pay bills using this, and this is just going to accumulate and accumulate and accumulate. But then what happens is I get to retirement, or I get to my kids' college, or I get to where I need to put a down payment on a house or a wedding or a car or something. And that's when I know full well I'm going to start selling these things. And when that date comes, it doesn't really matter to me all that much, or it shouldn't matter all that much if these are way up in value or way down. I'm going to have to do that in order to pay for my life. Well, if DeFi is going to kind of replace some of this system, then we're going to have to start thinking about it in those terms, that it's going to have these wild undulations up and down. And either as financial advisors or as investors that are looking at the space, that are looking at this technology and saying, look, I want to keep some investments here. And not all of it has to be wildly volatile. Some of it can be investments that just earn me some interest. I might have stable coins like USDC earning me 8%. Or 5% or whatever, but it's paying me a regular income. But now if we want that level of adoption, and we want to bring people into this sphere and this ecosystem, into decentralized finance from all over the world, we're going to have to bake in here the idea that people are going to have to sell at some point. They're going to have to sell to fund their lives. And maybe it's not selling a token that's gone up, maybe it's utilizing that income, but we're going to have to reframe how we look at this. And it cannot be always I'm going to buy it and hold it literally in perpetuity, because there's no reason to buy something and really hold it in perpetuity. The whole point is someone, myself or my heirs, someone's going to sell this and utilize the money at some point. The difference that we see in crypto is these usually don't go up and down as wildly and there's not as much volatility. Two, these in the past have taken some degree of settlement time, and I know that, and it's baked in. And I know that it's baked into my investments that I'm going to invest in some sort of either third-party manager or robo-advisor here, or I'm going to pick the individual stocks myself. But at some point, there's going to be a selling of them to pay for my life. And that life might be retirement. It might be some sort of goal I had in mind. We have not had that yet very often in crypto. The closest thing we've had so far is when cryptocurrency values go up, you'll get a lot of the people that have been around a while saying, I'm taking some money off. I see this, as a point where I can take some of this off the table. I'm going to put some into cash. And that's been the closest thing we've had to some sort of financial planning. It's more of overall investment planning. But the difference here is I can solve all of this. I can have where we never see where this has always been kind of segregated and siloed before. Now my DeFi investments, right, can be the bank plus the investments all rolled into one. And so now the cool thing is with composability and with all these applications that are being built, I can have my funds going in here being, have some that I've invested for growth and some that I'm investing for income and some that I'm investing for safety and some for insurance, all kind of in this bucket and being, algorithmically managed potentially, or I can have the help of my financial advisor, or I can just do it myself. But I'm also going to have to go, look, I'm going to take some out of here, not necessarily because I think it's overvalued or something, but this is just to pay expenses so I can pay for my life. Now, part of the issue that we see on things like crypto Twitter and such is people say, why would I buy? Why would I buy any sort of asset? Why would I buy something for my life? Why would I pay with crypto ever when I know whatever I buy is a depreciating asset, and this is an appreciating asset, right? But that doesn't matter. If I have to pay for my life, then I have to pay for my life. And if cryptocurrency, what is so unique about it is it's one of the first assets, maybe the only asset we've had in a very, very long time that can be looked at both as an asset, an investment that can appreciate in value, plus one that can actually be spent as currency, plus one that I can actually send to someone in exchange for goods and services, and I can do so virtually instantaneously. We haven't had to think about it in those terms before. The fact that I can actually spend this in its native form. I don't have to go sell it necessarily in order to spend it. Or I can take out a loan in here, right? If I have assets sitting in here in my wallet, I can potentially just borrow money against this if I have to pay my expenses. But eventually what we're going to have to transition into is, at some point, I'm going to have to sell some of my crypto investments to pay my bills and to pay for my life. And that's okay to do. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why we invest in other assets. That's why we invest in stocks. That's why we have money managers. We know that at some point we're going to be selling in order to pay for our life. It's just that in our heads, in psychologically, all that usually happens in the background. I call up my advisor and I say, hey, I need to start taking out $5,000 a month because I'm getting close to retirement or pre-retirement or semi-retirement, and all of a sudden $5,000 a month shows up in my bank account. I don't think about the fact that in the background they've had to sell something in order to pay for that. Well, that's the mindset that we're going to have to eventually get into. But it's even different because I might not have to sell anything. I can just pay for things directly. I can borrow against it. It is so much easier and can actually happen instantaneously eventually. But we have to get into that mindset. The other mindset we're going to have to get into is this idea that I'm investing in some sort of growth asset or some sort of appreciating asset, and maybe it's because it's something like Bitcoin that has a limited supply, and why would I use Bitcoin to pay for anything, right? So if I bought Bitcoin, if I bought $10,000 worth of Bitcoin at some point, and this investment has grown to $40,000, but it's still sitting in $40,000 worth of Bitcoin, and people will say, why would you ever spend that? Why would I use my Bitcoin to, for instance, pay for a car, right, when this is a depreciating asset? But in reality, the mindset here is, look, I can use my Bitcoin to pay for this car, or I can use $40,000 in cash to pay for this car. It doesn't really matter. It's the exact same opportunity cost. Now, I'm not taking the tax effect into account here. It's the exact same amount of money, whether it's $40,000 worth of Bitcoin or $40,000 in cash. Because if I use the cash to pay for the car, I could have used that cash to buy $40,000 of Bitcoin at that moment. It wouldn't have mattered. So the opportunity cost is exactly the same. So if you're an investor in crypto or in DeFi or thinking about it, or you're a financial advisor, the mindset has to change a little bit. To not necessarily, I'm going to hold this forever no matter what, but how is this a part of my financial life? Where am I going to put money in? Where am I going to see it be allocated to growth, income, safety, and insurance? How am I going to be able to pull money out in terms of expenses so that I can live my life? Because that is exactly what any sort of investments in any sort of financial system is supposed to do for me. How can I efficiently grow my wealth and then be able to actually spend that money on my life? How can I look at the money that I've put in and what I'm spending as some sort of opportunity cost, not necessarily that it's Bitcoin I'm spending for this car, but it's $40,000 I'm spending for this car, whether it's in Bitcoin or ETH or USDC or dollars sitting in a bank account, it's $40,000. And again, not taking taxes into not taking what the taxability is into account, but $40,000 is $40,000. There's an opportunity cost there. I could have bought the car, or I could have bought Bitcoin. If I need a car, I need a car. It's okay. And the thing is about financial planning and financial advice is sometimes we don't know when we're going to need things like that. We don't know necessarily when we're going to need to buy a car. Or sometimes we just want to get a new car. Sometimes we got to pay for our kids to go to college or for a wedding. Okay, and there's no way to say, look, can you, to my child, can you not get married until Bitcoin hits a certain amount, right? Or I'm not going to pay for your wedding because I only have $20,000 or $10,000 saved up, but I got $150,000 worth of Bitcoin, but there's no way I'm paying for your depreciating asset wedding that I'm only going to enjoy for one night when, I can hold on to my Bitcoin. That's not what it's there for. Okay, so the mindset, in our opinion, really has to change if we're going to get more, if we're going to get this mass adoption. It's great that those of us that were early on saw what was coming and were able to invest and were able to grow. But in reality, what we have to see now is this change to say, okay, we need to figure out how we're going to grow it, how we're going to allocate both to crypto within our entire portfolio, and then within the crypto and DeFi world, how we're going to allocate among all these different options, and then how we're going to start thinking about taking money out to pay for our life, to pay for our car, to pay for our expenses, to pay for our retirement, our college, our life, our spending. How are we going to do that? How are we going to account for this and think about it in our plan? And again, it's okay. It is okay to sell crypto if you want to pay for your life, whether it's gone up, whether it's gone down, whatever it is. That's part of your savings, that's part of your investment. As long as you've accounted for it in your plan, it's okay to do it. And don't get guilted into it. So as investors and as financial advisors, the mindset just has to change a little bit from what some people on, that are hardcore crypto investors or crypto Twitter will tell you, don't ever sell, have these diamond hands, hold on all the time. It's like, if you've built into your plan, I'm going to sell at a certain time, and I'm okay with it because I'm going to pay for my life, then you build it in. If you built into your plan, when I hit a certain level, when certain investments hit a certain level, I'm going to take some off the table and put it into something more stable, then that's what you do. Then that's what you have to do to get to the point that I'm going to have expenses to fund my life. So that's just a little bit about what we've seen in the last couple weeks, where crypto's been hitting kind of this downward trend, and you've had a lot of people say, don't sell, don't sell, don't sell. I'm never going to sell. I will never sell. I will hold on to this forever. And what you have to realize is, in order to have mass adoption, people have to be able to sell, and not because they're weak, it's because they're living a life. And if you want this to be an actual currency, if you want this to be utilized to pay for things and to invest and to save and to lend and to borrow and all of those things, then it has to be okay for people to utilize it as part of their life and not something they're going to hold on to forever. So we hope you enjoy this. We hope you'll subscribe. We hope you will check us out on Twitter @InterAxis8, and we hope to see you in the next video.